Make the official introduction here. This is the 18th Knowledge Seekers Workshop.
If you run into trouble, we go upstairs, huh?
We can hear you, Mr. Kesh.
Okay.
So Mr. Kesh is interested in getting started early here because he's got another engagement in about an hour and a half from now. So we're going to get started as soon as we can. And sounds like they're set up there. We'll just do a quick sound check and make sure it's all good at that end. And there's some special announcement that Mr. Kesh...
I came with my mobile. Is my mobile outside? Out here, okay.
Okay, right. Let me just fix something in the live stream first.
Sure.
Okay, there we go. Leave that off. Okay, so sounds like we're ready to go and we've got Mr. Kesh at the Spaceship Institute. A lot of action happening there, and I'm just going to sign over to him and let him begin. He's got some special announcement he'd like to make. Okay, Mr. Kesh, you're on now.
Yeah, is the sound okay? Can you hear us clearly? Yeah, can you hear us? Is everything okay? Okay. So good morning to you a lot, to the 18th...
Rick, sorry, we can't hear Rick's voice on live stream.
Sorry, I had the live stream microphone turned off temporarily there. So I'll turn off my microphone now and let Mr. Kesh speak. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
can we go ahead? Yeah, I repeat again. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the 18th Knowledge Seekers meeting. We have a number of interesting news, which one of them, I think two of them will be scientifically shocking if people understand what is to be disclosed. If you, what I'm going to start with is that if you hear there is no background noise, we always run the knowledge seeker sessions upstairs in the lecture room. And today, for the first time, we are running the knowledge seekers directly from the lab. Usually we have something like 8 motors running in the background. That's why we couldn't run the sessions here. The noise is too much, 12 or 15 watt motors, 30 watt motors running the 8 cores, which you've seen all the pictures of it. In the foundation, as you know, we've been setting this setup of the 2 cell formation of the 2 the star formation with 8 reactors, and testing the environment and the reactors. Some of these reactors have been running non-stop for past 2 months, more or less, because it took a couple of months from the beginning of the institute to understand and then build them, and then we had a lot of failures, which knowledge seekers in their own way repaired, fixed, and in so many ways brought the systems into ongoing systems. When we came back from Tuscany, we had a small failure we fixed. We had another failure early this week, which we fixed. And these failures taught us a lot. It was a small valve breaking or a misconnection somewhere, or a motor loosened up because of the pipe breaking, but nothing major. But in this process, we learned a lot, that we come in and we have a reactor which is not rotating, but we could see no disturbances in the plasma structure. Then again, we had a failure early this week, and we saw that we took the reactor literally out of the star formation. We had to change a valve, so we went directly into the top of the reactor, changing the valve. Marco changed everything. And we got to the point that it was a time I informed the knowledge seekers earlier this week that you can run the reactors without a motor, which means now that we are in the state that the plasma is complete or strong enough that it holds itself in 8 reactors. So yesterday, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we made a decision to switch off all the motors one by one to create the condition of the universal systems. What this means, in the universe we don't see motors or engines running the rotation of the planet Earth or the Sun. So being in this privileged position, we could test, as we're testing the environment of the reactors with our detectors, and we don't need to monitor the motors. So the electric current connections, which was giving us the pressure and the rotation of the speed and that kind of thing in the matter level, was not needed anymore. So it took us a few minutes. We step by step shut down every motor, and the whole thing was that if the motors are shut down and the plasma is created, so we should have a plasma which is working on its own, exactly like the stars. We have seen in slowing down one by one and shutting down that there has been no changes in the plasma, and we just sat there and we watched the plasmas with no motor, and it was a very weird situation here. We are watching and dreaming what's going to happen because there is no noise. We are used to seeing meters running, and we are used to seeing motors running, and now as you hear us, there is no noise. It's the first time, as I said, we're running the workshop in the lab live, and strange enough, after about 20 minutes or so, we start seeing increase in plasma figures in the environment in X, Y, and Z directions and the total plasma. When we started it, we were at 2.75, and at the maximum we reached with our all gases and rotations yesterday, prior to introduction of the argon layer for protection, was, I think, if I'm correct, it was about 3, it was, we have the half a core. What's our sheet? Can we have a look at the sheet that we can give you exact data? We started from 2.768 when the reactor was stopped. When we had, so the data is there, we can quote it directly. So the maximum we reached on one of the detectors was 3.2 before introduction of the argon. In this setting, we introduced the argon, it went to 3.641. But when we started, because of introducing gases in, when we started our system without the motors, we were at 2.76, and all the 8 figures, which we have 3 X, Y, and Z in 2 sets, we start seeing the development of the plasma. So the plasmas are running actively overnight. I've checked once at 10 o'clock at night, and we did every 10 minutes check yesterday till 8 o'clock before we leave. And today, this morning, we have reached 3.442, which is more than we achieved with the plasma on its own, with all the layers, without the argon. But now we still see development. The plasma is active, and even as we speak, since this morning, one of the parameters has increased again. So we see a direct role. There is a noise background, I think, Beck. Can you hear me? Yeah, oh, it's okay. Thanks very much. It's just somebody clicking chairs or something. There is no problem. So what has happened is that now we have reached the condition of the universe, which means we do not need motors, we do not need electric current to run the reactors. We monitor how far we can go. I was explaining earlier this week about the position that now we're going to add some more small amount of gases first to see um, if the introduction of the gases will change. Maybe very low pressure hydrogen, which is just for testing, and then we break into a new way of control and system setting. This, if we can achieve it, it won't be easy, it depends on the operator, is that the condition we achieve now is where the reactors are in comfortable zone with each other. This is how the nature is, this is how the soul of the man works, is you take only what you need. So what this means, we might see a little bit increases in different directions now that the engines are shut off, only plasmas decide. So in the morning after the workshop, the knowledge seekers will introduce a small amount of gases to check. And then we go into a dimension which is not known, but I told you some times ago, about 3-4 weeks ago, we did a test with 4 knowledge seekers where they sat in front of the core and they gave, and we could monitor all their feelings, and then they could take from the reactor, and we monitored how much they can take. Now today, after they're happy that they reach where they want to reach and the reactors are happy in achieving their own balance, we go into training of the operators. What does this mean? This means, as you understand and I explained before, motors and engines are matter entity, man-made things. In the universe, motion and directional motion and expansion absorption is done by the wish or by the need. So today Arman, I've just explained to him, he will sit in front of one of the reactors, which is a control reactor. We know which one it is because it's a master reactor, and through his thoughts he has to control in giving the reactor to increase the numbers, and that's unconditional. This has become the control system teaching in a way that if we can maintain and we do not lose any plasma, he can decide in what he gives to the reactor to increase. We have monitors, we monitor in all 3 directions what he receives and what he gives. So we enter into a very much unknown territory, and strange enough is that we should see very interesting results. So not only he can increase the level of the plasma, if he's correctly taught is in one direction, he can dictate which reactor he likes to take energy from to give to the center or direct energy to, which means the direction of flow. So I've recommended to him where to sit, because there directly we can see the operation of the reactors and if it's going to go in a direction. So if you see in a specific line increase, it means he's taught to move the reactor in one direction will go. Then from now on, instead of running and adding energy levels, we'll try to increase the plasma to the left according to the thoughts of the total knowledge seekers are. So this will be an experiment for next few days, because it's just not Armand, then Marco has to do the same, and then John has to do the same, and then Ivan arrives on Monday, he has to do the same. If it's in my hand, I know where it's going to go, but it's them they have to test. So in fact, we are testing for the first time on this planet the condition of the universe in reaction between 8 plasmas, which have, they are helping each other. We see from the data, one is helping the other one to increase. The plasmas are active because we see a graph data, we see a system we have here, we can see graphically if data is alive, and it's like a heartbeat, it has its own heartbeat, which is the correct way to see the monitoring moving. And then we go to the next step of how we can lift the material and how it can be done. Because the reason for this is, I explained to Marco that yesterday or the day before, that if you look at the data, we have never passed 3.9, which means the system have reached the condition they're happy to be in. Doesn't matter what we feed them, they do not need it. Now the need has to come from the man. I need to go there. So especially Armand has been very active in his reactor building and 2 reactors which he's been involved in. He has a connection with these reactors. So every one of us has participated in development, so we are connected with these systems. Now we see if through our work we can increase to 3.6 and 3.9, and if such a thing is achievable. Then if we achieve this point later on next week, we gather as a knowledge seekers group on the table upstairs, and we try to control the reactors from the boardroom. This will be a major breakthrough if we can achieve it. There is a way to be done. I explained this process to the knowledge seekers during the week. So we just don't do things a day or 2 before things being done. I try to inform the knowledge seekers these things are available, but I try to say it'll be done in Christmas, that Armand doesn't get excited and go and do it. So we keep some control over what we are doing. This is not accidental. This is what we set up to do. We produce the nanomaterials, we produce the GaNs materials, we produce the nano layers, we put it in the cores, we test for different things, we have reached stability. Now we go for working of the universe. If any man can say this is nothing, now you can come and sit here. I'm sure John has taken videos from it. He's going to post it for you soon. But now we have reached the position of absorbing energy from the environment according to the need. So this is containing plasma, creating plasma, and now being able to transfer plasma from one entity to another, or giving from one source to another. You don't need to give it from your soul. We have reserve reactors on the second stage where I will teach them how to transfer plasma from the reserve tank into the main tank. The reason for this process is you cannot control these things electronically computerized. Present computer systems are electronics and is a physical vibration of electrons and transfer of whatever electrical currents you want to put into it. In this level we work on the plasma level, which is direct connection, and then we'll see we don't need the control systems as such. The strangest thing is, yesterday when I walked out of here, I went for a walk to more or less analyze what is to be done or what is about to happen today outside here. But if you go back into the talks we had before, or in the interviews I have given before, we achieved the first lift on 28th of Shaban in the Arabic calendar in Iran at 5:30. This is recorded because I called that day Rick, I called Dirk, and I called my wife from Tehran and say, just put it on record, 28th of Shaban at 5:30 we achieved the first lift. Strange enough, about 5:30 last night, which is 28th of Shaban again, we achieved the same. It's not coincidental. Just about the same time and just about the same day. It is a very, very, very interesting point. We achieved lift in Tehran and we achieved non-material connection in holding of the plasma. And this is very, very significant. In the same day, about the same time. And soon I will explain the significance of this day. Why this day and why this time. There is a reason for it. If you go on the archive, you'll see I explained that 28th of Shaban is an Arabic calendar, and this is by accident. It usually falls in October, but by 11 days short in the Islamic calendar and national calendar, you always go back by 11 days. So now we achieved a significant point in the world of science. The other point with this is that now we have started setting up, and I've seen John posting the pictures around the Facebook, the development of much smaller cores with the GaNs material. 2 of these are already on the wheels on the floor of the lab. They went, I put them on last night. John has finished it. I just couldn't wait to see how they behave on the rolls. Up to now, every reactor we have made have been fixed and sat on the place. Unless the energy reactor, which was hanging originally and is now back on the ground, same level. We up to now considered one direction. Now that we expanded the knowledge, the new reactors, ceramic reactors, the small one with the GaNs material in them, are put on the wheels, which means now we force the reactors to sit and interact. With this setup, which hopefully will be ready next week, you will see it more firsthand, is that we will tie 3 reactors at 120 degrees to each other, and we tie them up to the center core. And we'll start seeing not just the magnetic field through the monitors, but if we can see the magnetic push pressure to push or attract the reactors to each other, away from each other. This will be fascinating, because once we achieve this, then we can make a frame here to literally hang these 4 reactors from the frame, that they can move freely. Then we can see the operation of like hydrogen with this proton and electron. We can increase and change the amount of the plasma in each one. And then this gives the man the freedom for the first time to see the operation of the solar system. So if you make one reactor the sun, then you make the other ones the Earth, the Jupiter or Saturn. You create a gravitational magnetic field inside each to that strength, and then you see how they position themselves. This is coming hopefully before Christmas. But now from next week we move from one-dimensional system into a 2-dimensional system. And this will be, somebody is still clicking and moving. And so we
Rick,
we
can
start
you mute your mic,
seeing,
please?
so now we have entered a new dimension in the world of physics, in the world of science, where we go to a level of understanding interaction of plasmas. This has never been done, and this is the major change in the work of the foundation. So what we're going to do is if we can, from now on we run all the tests, all the workshops here live. I know the systems are available for us to go on a live stream. Once we start going this way, we talked last week, somehow we have to make it that you people around the world can monitor while we are asleep, or you're asleep, we monitor. This is from now on, once the reactors are not in the 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, it becomes the international collaboration. This international collaboration is needed irrespective of government, nationalities, or wherever you sit. I have to let you know, if it might be a shock to you, or some of you know, all the knowledge seekers lectures are listened by world leaders. We know this through the reactions we get and the confirmation we have. Number of world leaders, being prime ministers, presidents, or advisors to these governments, listen to this knowledge seekers very closely. They are learning from it, their institutes are learning from it, and they are trying to see what they can develop and what they can avoid. But the way the knowledge seekers have dispersed the knowledge so correctly in past 4 or 5 months has changed the behavior of governments and nations in respect to a lot of things. Therefore, we need full collaboration and cooperation by all knowledge seekers or people around the world who watch and monitor with us. This is a bit of what do you call it, technical problems which we have to overcome, that we can put in the live stream. The only time you will see the live stream will be shut, or you'll have no view of the, what do you call, the course, is when we have officials in the building. When we have officials, we had them 2-3 times last week and this week. We just switch off the monitor because it's no good for anybody to know what we are doing in international level. If the live stream comes on this week and next week, you will see 2-3 sessions of blank, because we know we have high-ranking officials here who are monitoring or working with us, or are as part of the governmental work with the foundation. In talking about international cooperation, I'm pleased, as I informed the knowledge seekers, the technology from what we developed in and we tested through Yokoko in Fukushima has been evaluated by the Japanese government, and it's been evaluated independently by 2 other nuclear nations. And I have received a preliminary report this week. We have broken the rules of physics. We are 100% correct. What has been seen in Fukushima, reduction of the gamma ray, through the process which Yokoko tested, is correct, is independently confirmed, and the report is with us. Report is not classified unless I get authorization, unless I get a block that I cannot release it. The information will be released as part of the report. In turn, on the back of what has happened, I informed you before, Japanese government through ministries and directly through the government of Japan, through the structure which we set up, and it was people who we worked with a couple of years. The material was tested in Fukushima in TEPCO, on the site about 2 weeks ago, and that has led to further work from Japanese government, that now Keshe Foundation, in conjunction with 2 other nuclear governments, are directly involved in finding a solution for the tritium in Fukushima. So we are officially approached, and we have responded, and they tested the material on site, and now we don't disclose anymore till what do you call it, all the agreements has signed and sealed by 3 different organizations, governments, different nations, that we will test. And I know for a fact, hopefully, we will submit the, what you call, a final solution to the Japanese government for the situation in the tanks in Fukushima. We said our openness will stay open. We don't do things, but we don't release everything to cause any problem. The approach to the foundation has been through the government of Japan, to the ministries, and not through individuals. And so in that level, we have to keep till us, by in conjunction with the other nuclear nations which are working with us in this respect, decide to release the information. There are a number of tests set up, which has been tested. There are a number of parameters which has been set, will follow. And in that position, it's not the Keshe Foundation and Japanese government. There are other nations involved in. We are collaborating with the foundation in the center, not outside the center, here to find a final solution for this disaster. The problem is that we have seen and finalized, and it's accepted, that the radiation cleanup on the lands and in the districts around Fukushima is possible very cheaply, but at the moment the target is the water tanks. But in the coming weeks, hopefully in conjunction with the help of the organizations and the Japanese government and the other nuclear nations, the foundation will submit a solution. But these things are not theoretical. The solution we'll find will be with the work of directly the Japanese scientists here in the lab, with the other officials from other governments here in the lab. So it's not theoretical. All has been agreed. The dates and everything has been agreed, and we are moving into that phase of preparing for receiving international scientists here, where we are speaking to you to find a solution for Fukushima. We are highly respected at the nuclear level because of our work by several nations, and we carry this through the peaceful ways which we are doing. So the next step for us is developing dynamic reactors which can do the job of the materials. One thing which is very important is that the development on the cleanup of the contaminated land and waters, which has been started in Europe some months ago, is entering its commercial phase, which means now the people who did the evaluation and testing themselves in their laboratories for decontaminating waters and land are entering the production phase of the systems for their target. So the first commercial units except in what you call cleaning up has already started. The negotiation has been going on for a few days, a couple of weeks now. And in every production of the system, the Foundation will have a direct hand because we have to give the knowledge and understanding. The other important point, which I know a lot of you are waiting for to hear, is regarding the 14th meeting of the world religious leaders. As we did the same with the World Ambassadors meetings in Nino and 2 sessions, we do not disclose who attends and what is done. And but the meeting will go ahead. We received confirmation of the attendance. So at the end of the meeting, some pre-negotiation or discussions has already been done, what we're looking and what we're going to do and how we have to do it. It's not just going there, we now saying we have world peace. We have to teach people what it means and what is the benefit to them, physically. So one of the first work will be in that first meeting, and already pre-agreed a second World Religious Leader meeting will be held on the 29th of August here in Italy. That date has been pre-agreed. So it's already, we are going to the second follow-up after this Monday to a meeting in a month and a half when the holiday season is more or less over and people can attend for the second one. There are some preliminary agreements in how we're going to start teaching to preparing for world peace and the replacement of the present situation. The ones who don't attend is the same thing as happened in the ambassadorial meeting in Nino. The ambassadors, the ones who attended, then the lots avoided, and in the second World Ambassadorial meeting, when the Italian ambassador broke rank from NATO and what you call the group of 5 and 20, and they sent a representative in the meeting, because we showed how we share the knowledge. We expect the same thing. At the beginning, though, there's always resistance, but those who come a few, they can see the change, they monitor it in the background. We will not announce who's attending and who did come, who did not come, because as we've seen before, the outcome of these meetings was the request of the key by the Americans and the Brazilian governments after the ambassadorial meeting. So there's a lot of negotiation to be done, but you have to understand a lot of world religious leaders at the moment are even in their talks preparing their flock for what is to come. We see it, we understand the position which is moving, but it has to be done. They cannot change the bed in one night. So as I said, the ambassadorial meeting on the 14th will take place. We received the confirmation. And the second one has been pre-agreed for 29th of August. And most probably we'll follow up with several more in what to do. We have a framework of what is going to be done after the outcome by 14th. We might announce it or might at least leave it to the 29th meeting. In respect to where the Foundation stands in the whole structure, we stay neutral and we stay correct. We don't take side with no governments, no religious group, and no political affiliation. There are those who support us in our own way, and we respect them, we thank them for their support, and there are those who try to stop the process. as is very strange according to our legal people, after nearly 6 weeks of submitting application to International Criminal Court, there is no response, which is very unusual according to international law. International Criminal Court at least should have issued a reference number for receiving documents. So it means the governmental pressures in the background are still there, and so we have taken other steps to sort the matter out. We do not disclose what we're doing, what we've done, but we have taken the steps that now these people have put their fingers in the International Criminal Court. It shows the International Criminal Court is not impartial. It's run by people who decide this fate. So we had to show this, that how these connections are set and in whose favor they work with. But I give you a pre-warning for you to understand. Very soon, a few world leaders will be not in a very comfortable position. Their criminality has been recorded and is in the hand of people who know how to deal with it. We don't go any further. So this is where we sit in these affairs. Did we go back? I tried to cover. Sorry about that. When it gets to about 9:15, can you let me know, please? Yeah, because it is only 8:33. Yeah, 9:15, because I have to make a call, otherwise I have to leave. As usual, we try to bring some of the teachings, what we do during the week here, because we hardly ever spend time in the lecture room that we used to record things or whatever we could do. So I step by step trying to explain the flaws in the physics which has brought us to this position. One of the things was we were discussing with John during the week that John, as a matter section, what he considers as a matter, there's a formula which says that the constant pressure, temperature, and the rest, the number of atoms in a given space is equal, because nothing else has changed. In so many ways, I explained to him, this is the guys who's been theoretical. Hopefully we make a video of this that you can understand it more better. Is that when you consider, now that we look with plasmas, we don't look at a lot of fairy tales which has been accepted in the world of physics, is that in the world of physics they say neutron is neutral and that's it. And then they say proton is positive and electron is negative. Now that we have opened the reality into the physics, and we have magnets and we have reactors which can imitate the structure of the reality, which is a gravity and magnetic field each plasma has, you come to see that, okay, a hydrogen has a single proton and has a single electron. The distance of the electron to the proton is dictated by the energy which is given by both in the form of, when I speak energy, is gravity and magnetic field together, which creates that distance. The same as I always say, the plasma of the Earth creates gravitational magnetic field, the plasma of the Sun creates gravitational magnetic field. Where they are comfortable, they keep the distance between the Earth and the Sun. The proton and a single electron has that effect. Now that we have said, and as in the books, that the neutron is the initial fundamental plasma, now you put, let's say, as I explained in the demonstration, you put and take nitrogen. Nitrogen has 7 electrons, 7 protons, and 7 neutrons. Now, this theoretical physics which says when the temperature and the pressure is the same and everything, which John was arguing about, that number of electrons, the atoms of nitrogen is equal to number of hydrogen in the same pipe. This is very good if you got the pinpoints and no effects. Now that we understand the physics in a much more clearer way, a neutron creates gravity and magnetic field. A proton creates gravity magnetic field. And now you put 4 planetary systems next to each other. they don't all pile up in one corner. They create their own gaps. And then on top of it, you have 2 electrons which sit in this boundary in this S1, and then you have the S2, which is the rest 5 electrons. They create their own. Now you see this formula goes through the window. Whoever came up with it was very good theoretical, mathematical way. But now that you put a plasma in the place of a number, you see you have a huge nucleus. This nucleus is not protons sitting next to a neutron. It's the gap between them and how they are. So now you have 1 proton in the hydrogen and you have 14 elements of near the same, because neutron is about the same as a proton with a little bit more energy, which is the energy of the electron in it. Now you have a bigger sphere in your hand. And then with the number of electrons of it, you'll find out the size is colossal by measurement. And then, at the same time, this atom is not on its own. The other atoms in its environment need that gap between them. Even though they are connected as molecules, they still create that gap distance. So this formula, which says this constant pressure and temperature, the number of atoms, according to what John was saying, is constant, and it won't change. The number of hydrogen atoms is the same as neutron, goes through the window. This is another fallacy which with the new science we put into bed. Then, when you do this, you understand further. The reason this subject came up was because we were now feeding nitrogen into the cores, and the explanation was that if you have 1,000 atoms of hydrogen in that 4 millimeter, now that you understand the reality of the physics, that this is a ball, a bigger ball, you can't have 1,000 nitrogen in there. By my estimate, if I'm right, you should be about 60 to 80 atoms, 70 atoms average. Because you have to go by the number. The way I usually worked is you divide 1,000 by 7, you get about 150. Then you add up the what do you call it, the gaps, which is between the electrons and the atoms, and each atom has a molecule structure. Around about 80 atoms is just about right. 70 atoms, just about right to be equal in the same tube. So if you're expecting to put 1,000 atoms of nitrogen into the core equal to the number of the atoms of hydrogen, so you need to increase your tube size about 10 times. This is not theoretical. I work like this, and I have a panel in my other lab which is made like this. Each line, I give the picture to John to put on the net, that each line is for certain gas, because I increase the number according to the length of the tube, according to the heavier element I use. So this is something which has worked, and it shows to be correct. So when you are working with your systems and you put gases in, you have to consider this factor, this theoretical phenomena which John, according as his teaching, because we accepted it. Now we understand, when we look at the dimensions and the structure of the plasma, this cannot be, it has to be corrected. So this famous formula, which we had a very hot discussion about here in the lab, physically can be shown, and we posted on the net that you can see it, is totally out of the window, and it has to be reconsidered according to the number of the electrons, protons and neutrons, because they always consider neutron to be neutral and it has no effect. But actually neutron, because it carries a proton, creates a bigger atmosphere dimension around itself in the proton. You cannot squeeze them together. You cannot say, okay, the pressure is the same, so protons and electrons are going to be squeezed and become the size of... the hydrogen atom. It's irresponsible, it's ridiculous, because if you pressurize the proton electron in the nucleus, or you pressurize the electron, you create what we said interatomic fusion, which we talked about, to bring the electron in. So you have a bigger case and a bigger volume. So one of you or some of you who understand theoretical physics, you better start looking to write a new formula to change this, that it becomes relevant to the present science and not in the past science, which what was imagined. Neutron has his own characteristics, his own atmosphere, his own environment, which is much stronger than a proton. So your by factor creates a bigger distance. And if you squeeze it, or if it's too much of it, it gets squeezed, this is what you get: nuclear radiation. All the nuclear radiation comes from the additional neutrons, which are in the center. When I explained this to the nuclear physicists in a meeting a couple of months ago, one of the top nuclear physicists on the lunch table says, Mehran, 80% of what we've been taught, we have to put in the bin. Now it makes sense, now we can understand it. So nuclear physicists who had some questions about how they've been taught are of the same opinion. So we understand things in different ways, so we have to adjust it, and we can't stick to what we've been told is correct. It was correct to our understanding if you put a dot and say this is an electron and that's a proton. This is how it was done. But electrons and protons are plasmas. Plasmas keep distances, so one atomic hydrogen is not the same size as one atomic nitrogen or any other thing. So when you load up your reactors, you have two choices: increase the size of the pipe or increase the pressure, that you get more of the same in a smaller container. But you cannot do that, so it's the best thing to do, to be the reversal. Some of you who listened to earlier, as I explained to you, that we have switched our motors off, now we have plasma. If you reach or you want to try such a thing, as I thought the knowledge seekers, I repeat it to you today, do not switch off your motors in one go. You disturb and destroy your plasma. As we did yesterday, you step down gradually over a minute or two, or in a very, very slow base. So if you got at the 10 volt, you go to 9 very slowly. Marco did it very nicely. Very, very slowly, we bring it to 0, and then we stop. You have to be careful with this. If you stop, you disturb your plasma, you create havoc in your core. The other point is, if you reach the dynamic plasma condition as we have here, you have to watch how you feed your core. You cannot keep your cores at 2 bars the way you done before, or at 3 bars, or whatever, at 1 bar, and just open the gas. The way you do it is, now that you reach plasma, you keep your plasma. You don't shoot into your plasma to spread this, like the video of the egg which you've seen. You just don't. If you shoot a bullet into a yolk, it goes all over the place. You bring your bar pressure to at least half a bar or a quarter bar, not to 1 bar. So you take the pressure off your gas. Then you do your measurement. Then you do your expansion as usual. Then you don't open the valve into your core in one go. You open your valve very, very, very gently. Very, very gently. The same as you switch your motor off in the steps. You open it very, very gently. You allow the gas to sweep in like a cloud. Very, very, very soft, very gentle. So this is the way you have to, when you're going into your practical side. Yeah. So you have to watch how you do it. Don't get carried away that now you can do the things and backwards. Everything from now on, you start dealing with plasma, if you switch your reactor off, is to be as gentle as possible. This is important. So don't go and just switch off your motor, see if you got a plasma. From now on, most of you which you use the coating in your cores, When you step down or you switch your reactor off, you do it in the steps. Even if you go away for 10 weeks and come back, your plasma will still be there. If you use a nano coating or you use a nano coating beam in the center. If you use a nano coating, the magnetic field of the coat of nanomaterial will hold your plasma. If you use the central pin and use a steel bars, a steel cores, most of you did, and you can't use nuclear material, I don't know if the knowledge seekers have explained to you, in all our reactors, we have carried the policy of putting a center nano-coated beam in the center of the reactor. What this means is that even if you have a steel core and you use layering, this post, this beam, this pin in the center will allow the plasma to stick to it. If you heard me at the beginning, I said we had a problem with one of the reactors. It was a steel reactor, which we lost the valve. They had to open the valve, and we opened it into atmospheric condition. We didn't lose any plasma. The reason for it is because when we set the reactor up originally, Marco built, John cut a brass pin. Marco coated it with nano layers. We spent a couple of days coating it heavily. The same process has been repeated again with Armand, with the new GANS reactors, which John is putting together. So we put a pin, nano coated pin right in the center, which the plasma attaches itself to it. And I explained this before, I repeat it to make it more clear. So what happened in this case is like you putting a dog, which is the plasma, on the leash, which is the magnetic field of the nano layers, and pin it to the ground, which is the brass itself, which is connected to the core. So your plasma cannot run out of your core. This is a new technique, this is a new development which you have to learn. If you all have nano layers coated, or you have already made a steel cores, you cannot nano coat it. There's still stainless steel, a lot of you have done. We have Marcos here, I have made several of them myself. Is to make a pin made of brass or copper and nano coat this through the caustic process. Do it 2 or 3 times, which is really dark and black, which means covers the whole spectrum of the magnetic field, and then somehow fix it into the center of the bottom of the center of your core. You must have a position where you attach your motor to, or where you feed the gas to. Either way, this pin has to go right to the center diameter of your core. You can go all the way along from one end to other, but if you keep it in the center, it keeps your plasma right in the middle. So you can open your reactor without any fear of losing your plasma. This is the beauty of using nanomaterials. When we use nuclear materials and we use layering, the minute we lost the gas, the plasma was gone too. But the GANS nanomaterial on the center pins, because of its magnetic field structure, which we explained in other workshops, has a magnetic field connection with the plasma, and it holds the plasma like a dog on the leash. So you can do all sorts of repairs, you can do all sorts of additions, you never lose. This I think is important for you to understand, because some of you, when I explained you open a reactor and nothing happens, you were wondering how is this possible. This is the way it's done. And we've done the same thing with the ceramic cores of John. We've done the same thing. Even this principle has been followed in the energy reactor, which you've seen originally, which came to Italy about a year ago. We have a center pin in this, but on the top of center pin we have a very small core. So the plasma is kept, small plasma, inside the core, and then the outer core is still coated. So we have full stability. This is part of the process of the material development. This is why we started with the GANS, and everybody was looking for the energies and different things. But the reason for creating these GANS materials and understanding and the gases is to create a condition of magnetic holding. Magnetic holding is the only way you can hold the plasma. You cannot hold the plasma in any other way. And no one in the world of science up to now could hold plasma this way, could ever understood that the plasma can be held this way. We don't publish papers to be peer reviewed. We show it to you, and that's how it's going to be. As I always say, there are no mosques and no churches in the universe, so there are no papers and no pens. Pen and paper are man-made thing. In understanding the process as to the knowledge, and this knowledge stays in your DNA. Once you understand it, your children will know, without even thinking about it, will build a reactor with a pin in the middle to hold the plasma. This allows you to, pardon?
Mr. Keshe had a question about that. Is the center pin and the material that was used in the inner wall of the spherical reactors, is that the same material, the same basic nanomaterial that gets used?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then in that case, if you had both the inner walls and the center pin in a reactor, would the plasma be held in between, like in a similar way we see pictures,
Yes.
we see videos of a superconductor magnet that's held in a very positive positioning place by the superconducting fields. They attract and repel at the same time, so it holds it in a positive position.
Yes.
So is that what you're speaking of? A similar situation there?
Yes, at the same time is because of the magnetic field separation, it's hold as well. The gravity holds it, and the magnetical field or atmosphere is separated. This is one of the problems. Let me explain something, because this question raised is very important even for knowledge seekers here to understand. This is one of the problems which you will face in developing plasma in your course, because these layers are not stuck to the wall, they are separated, but at the same time you cannot add any more energy into it when there is a balanced energy between the layer and the gas, the nano layer and the gas, or the plasma. So creating plasma further with addition of materials like hydrogen becomes very difficult, because if what you said, it's very easy. Get a couple of your nanomaterials and you try to solder them together or weld them together. It's impossible, because the magnetic gravitational field between the two layers creates a separation. You can't put anything in there, otherwise you could weld it. There is no difference between that and the plasma. So this magnetic field separation which you speak about, that keeps them very much like we call it levitation or separation, is due to magnetic gravitational field between the two matter. If you just try, most of you have made wires which are nano-coated. Take them together and try to solder them. You see, you cannot do. It's impossible to fill it. It's not that they are lubricant or they are Teflons. The reason for it is both layers create gravitational magnetic field, and that gravitational magnetic field dictates a separation gap. And in that separation gap, because it's so strong, even though you don't see it, nothing can penetrate. This is a field not in a matter level, but in a transition level, which is superior to matter. That's why you can't weld them. You got to understand the principle. You have to understand the scientific understanding of it. So, but at the same time, you can use this to make a lot of different new materials or application of new materials. At the moment, we are setting up, and a test is to be carried out. That we announce it soon when the results comes from the research which is going on outside here, is that we introduce a new new system for hospitals. a new system even in for the, this is as a backup development for the Fukushima. One of the problems in Fukushima at the moment is that the workers cannot spend more than a certain time in the zone because they receive enough radiation. Within what we are developing and what is going to be tested in the coming days, we are submitting a new type of clothing which does not allow any radiation to penetrate. This is part of developments, as what I told you. It'll come through the governmental research which we are doing with 2 or 3 other governments in conjunction with the Japanese in development of the material through the new understanding. This material originally was submitted and developed for NASA for the helmet for the astronaut. Now it's the extension to it, but totally different. I've shown this layer is in, if you attended any of my lectures in past 2 or 3 years, you've seen it. We originally used a layer of copper, a layer of aluminium, and sandwich between the two nano-coated layer, which we said the most expensive, longest diamond. In those days, people couldn't understand when we got one. It's a further expansion. So what it means, you can let people work in a safe environment in the high radiation fields. The reason for this is not to do with Fukushima, it's part of the extension of the space research development. In a space, not everywhere is safe. This environment of the Earth is safe for us because we are used to its radiation. Once we go into a space, you enter zones which is not safe, but you still have to work within these spaces. So these become like space environments, not suits, which allows natural work and natural process. And this is what is needed. But as we said, the benefit of the process is that the what do you call it? The material, the clothing, or the fitting will be on use of being able to enter high radiation zones as you do in the space, but now we have opportunity to test it in Fukushima. This material is going through for initial testing to hospitals, and we should get the results hopefully in the coming days and weeks. Then you literally create an environment where you can work in a safety with no radiation penetration. You don't need to wear the clothes and the suit. You can create an environment, safe environment to be able to do. This has an advantage if we can deliver it the way we think. We can literally send people directly or material directly or systems, robots directly into the tank in Fukushima to literally close the holes where the leakage is coming from the tanks. One of the biggest problems at the moment in Fukushima is the high radiation level, which does not allow any way inside to do anything to stop the leakage. Everything is more or less monitored from outside. High radiation is damaging most of the systems as they have. So one of the applications of this is, and as you said, yes, this separation gap and holding has a lot of applications, huge applications. If you take it a step further, you can use this gap for by the size of the gap itself for production of certain gases. These separation zones between the two layers, you can dictate it, and it's literally, as I said, well, we did this test in Tehran, and you can even produce gold if you understand what can go between the two gaps. Extension to it is you take the two wires which you are twisting. In how much you twist, you close the gap, dictates what strength and what can go through that gap and how much in what condition. So you dictate literally flowing the gases between the two layers, what you're going to get on as a matter on the other side, because you dictate what's absorbed, what's given. And we showed this here in the course in the coming weeks. the implication and application of this technology, it'll take time to sink in, and people will find new ways of doing things. But those who talked, there's nothing to be proven now. Internationally, governments are looking into different applications of this technology, and as I said, governments and presidents and world leaders don't get involved in the nonsense and technology. When they've seen the results, they have the data, and now the collaboration will go from strength to strength. And strange enough is that how we see silent but effective and direct collaboration in different aspects from different governments to see how we develop into the next step. Very interesting news which has come up out of Al Jazeera very recently was much noticed. The American government is signing 2 agreements with Iran, which was unheard of. A very important agreement according to them. One is the nuclear understanding of Iranian new technology, and strange enough, Iran's spaceship program. They call it Iran Space Program. It's the 2 agreements Americans are very interested to be involved with Iran. I wonder why. So it shows that the technology, space technology of Iran, according to what they are doing in the spaceship and other aspects, is advanced enough for the leading nations to be interested to be participating in. This is the situation which happens diplomatically. And if you dig into the agreements and the talks, and if disclosed, you can find it, according to Al Jazeera, the most concerned 2 industries which the American government is interested to get involved with Iran is nuclear, because our centrifuge are some 6 to even 10 times in some cases more effective and efficient. And our space technology and the spaceship program is much more compact, simpler, and more advanced. So now you see how the things are at a high level. This is in Al Jazeera in past few days, in past 7 days. Somewhere I'll post a link that you can read it. This is the process which things will happen. As we said, we will not go. Pardon?
I have heard recently that Iran has been the most advancing, not the most advanced, but the most advancing technologically country in the world the last 15 years in a row, according to the UN. So it's at the top. It's in all technology, it has been the most advancing. They've made the most improvements over the last 15 years. They're the top country in the improvements. They started out from not a very good place, but now they're producing as many papers as some of the top countries in the world and so on, apparently.
Well, strange enough, according to the country you're speaking from in Canada,
they're not allowed to publish papers. Exactly. Yeah. So it's sad. It's sad but true. They produce all these great papers on cheap and efficient ways to produce nanomaterials and everything else, and plasma development, and we don't even get to see them here in Canada because our government has decided not to let people see them here. Well, that's because...
well, that's strange enough. Let me tell you something more strange. Canadian government is one of the governments which is issuing more visas to the Iranian scientists to immigrate to Canada.
Yeah, they talk with forked tongue in this country quite a bit.
But the strangest enough, if you go back into the details of the Canadian government, according to the official government report, the number of scientists which have immigrated from Iran to Canada in the first few years of revolution, and since then it's gone worse. It would have taken the Canadian government 25 years to train so many scientists themselves. So the Iranian scientists are part of the structure of the scientific organization in the past 20, 30 years, And denying it is very much like hypocrisy, which your present Prime Minister is involved in.
And
they
also,
pressurize a lot. They pressurize a lot of people to subdue this. Because I tell you something not known by a lot of people, but we can open the books. Further, when I was arrested and kept in the airport in Canada, one of the top industrialists in Canada, who is a friend of our family, every man on this planet who carries a mobile phone knows who they are. They were informed of my position and presence in the airport, and they passed the information to the family that they, unfortunately, because of their position, they cannot get involved in this matter, which means they would have lost their economical advantage. This is one of the things that they pressurize everybody to keep silent, to do what they want to do. But you don't forget, these leaders have a term, and then the term goes, they end up in prisons. We're seeing it, and it's going to happen. A lot of Western nations have kept this, that everything is wrong with Africa and the Asian leaders, but now we see the pressures on the other side of the card. A lot of present, as you've seen it with Mr. Berlusconi in Italy, he's doing community service as punishment for what he did wrong during being in office, because over 70 cannot go into prison. We've seen what happens with other presidents and world leaders in Western Europe. These present leaders, they think they will not be moved, and that's why they fight to stay in position. But once they leave office, they become normal and they go through the same process. So they can do what they like, but they have a term. And when the term is over, they become civilian, and their act during the term has to be answered as a civilian. We know there is a few more, even with the with the ex-presidents and even the kings in Europe, which are in that line. You got to realize a simple thing. If you look in the past 12-14 months, a number of European kings and queens have resigned position, and this is because of what's happening in the background, and the excuse is for the new generation to come up. Nobody allows, especially these people who fought so hard to stay on top, or walk away because of the new generation. Is because of what they've done, and it's getting opened up into public, and they don't want to damage the monarchy. So
there's a lot of that cleanup kind of work going on in Canada and North America as well, in terms of everything from mayors of cities to biker gangs, and just general cleanup of a lot of the problem areas. And the Aboriginals, the natives, have been awarded huge land claims recently and other advantages according to the abuses of the past and so on. So there is some major changes happening, in spite of some of our resistance of our government with their heads stuck in the tar sands rather than acknowledging some of the new technology.
Yeah, but you know,
let me get back on here. I think I won't talk about our lovely, wonderful government that I enjoy so much.
Yeah, but let me explain to you something. The only thing these people are very lucky with, they are not in China, because by Chinese rule, they execute them. You know, all these the governors, whatever, regional governors, ministers, who found to be in that position after they leave or while they're in office, they're caught. Most of them lose their life. They're lucky they can still enjoy the prison. or at least do something else. But this is irrelevant to what we do, but in a way it touches us in every way, shape and form. The other point to explain that I received a lot of emails in respect to can I clarify the situation with the Spanish group of the Keshe Foundation. It's mine, I have to go. I'm going to respond. The reason Jorge left the Keshe Foundation was because he could not pay his fee. As long as he could pay his fee, he was here, there was no problem. When he, as we said, we need the fee to be able to buy all these equipments and the rest, then everything became wrong with the foundation. If somebody translates for the Spanish group, make this very clear. There has been no problem or no situation as far as we were aware. Everything with him went belly up, or we said was not correct, was when he was requested after 2 weeks of staying over, as all the other knowledge seekers have paid their fee to be here for 2 years, because all the equipments, everything is paid and bought for and whatever. Then it became that I decide if I can pay or not, and then we've seen this letter appearing on the internet in this respect. If you come into the foundation to serve humanity, you have to work with the agreements you came to the foundation. If we accept you as a volunteer and a student, that's our job to make sure everything is in order. That's what we are doing with the university. If you're a Spanish listener, anybody who has left the foundation in the first term is true that they came here for 1 term, or they could not afford paying for their fee. If we give a place or a time or a teaching free to anybody, it's a discretion of the foundation. But in the time Jorge was here, we did not find any addition or expansion into the knowledge of the foundation. As I said, we are making every effort for Elia as a doctor to join us on the medical advantages of the technology. But when there is no contribution, there should be no expectation. And this is how this foundation will work. So my call goes to the Spanish people who've been making a lot of inquiries through Facebook and other channels to me and to other people close to the foundation. Please explain this. Elia asked me, please explain this so that people can understand. My thank goes to the Spanish, especially the Brazilian followers of the foundation, and I know a lot of people. A private letter was leaked that I am no kind, I'm no father, but at the same time, in a family, when you make a agreement, you stick to your agreement. You can't eat and leave the dishes on the table and walk away, so somebody else has to clean it for me. The same thing goes, you're a knowledge seeker. The knowledge seeker was, we explained that the material things are needed. The knowledge seekers have seen here, whatever is needed immediately is furnished and is there when it's needed to be done, the next step for the job. So when we requested from Jorge and according to the agreement with the foundation, his term fee has to be paid, suddenly he said he doesn't have the money, and then the foundation became the worst thing, and I didn't become the father. This does not damage. We'll see a lot of people like this coming and going, but Elia, when she was here last week, said, please explain this, people have to understand, because this, what is going on, it gives us the wrong image. Jorge is welcome if he can contribute anything to our knowledge. We haven't seen any. And if being correct is being wrong, then this is the expectation of humanity and what we come used to. If it's not our way, if we can't abuse, then it's the fault of the person who we could not abuse. It's not our fault as abusers. And so we end up with this discussion. If you can translate this and put it on the Spanish link. The reason Jorge left, because he, as all other knowledge seekers, we said this is what it needs to be the fee, and if they've been paid, he could not pay it, then he expected us to do everything. But in reality, I did not see any contribution, because to him, he never touched a screwdriver. And gluing a nano layer to a plate that now we see he holds a plasma was too much. It was slavery. So the reason he left is according his own term, and we would like to close this subject in respect to the Spanish group, and please translate it to them, to the Spanish side, that they understand. In respect to what we're going to do with the institute, we're still working and negotiating at the governmental level for the licenses. When this is all is done, then we announce the exact date of opening. Everything is in the hand of the legal team of the foundation, and I would like to thank sincerely the Italian Keshe Foundation group, which is very deep at the highest level. We do not get these entries without their support and the way they facilitate things for us in getting and achieving what we are trying to do. You have to excuse me for 1 minute. I have to check something. I'll pass the microphone to Marco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. That was a pretty, that was some great information came out there. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
good morning.
Hi, Marco.
Yeah, hello. I think Mr. Keshe will come back, but at 9:30 he has to go. Maybe if there are some questions, he could still answer them. Okay, we will see. So Mr. Keshe explained a lot what we were doing in the previous week in the lab. Maybe one of the interesting thing was that last week Mr. Keshe showed us configuration of different magnets on the top of the table. He creates setup like a human body, and there were maybe 100, 200 magnets on the table, and some of them were positioned like a human brain, like a head, and then body of the human. And he was trying to explain us how these magnets all interact with each other, and they create a link. The same link is created inside our body, and these links are in magnetic field connection, magnetic and gravitational field connection. So also our human body works in such a way. He asked us to step on the top of the table to see this picture, not let's say from the level of the table, but from the top. So we should see this in a three-dimensional view. There is no only two-dimensional view in a plasma, in a magnetic fields. It is we should see it like a three-dimensional view. So all the fields are spreading, are radiating out in spherical shape in 3 dimensions, and that's how we should look to the plasma and to the configuration that we have now in the lab with 8 reactors, 4 of them in each star formation. We should look at them at 3-dimensional point of view, not to see only physicality of the reactors, of the chambers, but to see the plasma inside and the interaction of this plasma, as was explained earlier in this workshop. Interesting discussion was also about gas and gas equation, and how gases are the pressure and temperature of the gases, and as Mr. Keshe explained earlier in this workshop, we have to look at relation between gases in different way through the plasma and not through the matter. And each plasma has its own gravitational magnetic field, which creates its own atmosphere, and this atmosphere doesn't allow to, let's say, to squeeze this plasma. This plasma has to have its space, and that's why when you have gases with higher atomic number, the volume of these gases is of one atom of this gas is bigger, and the equation that we are using now in physics doesn't stand anymore. We have redefined what is pressure and what is temperature. We have to look at pressure and temperature also through magnetic fields, and we can say that like temperature is rate of emission of magnetic fields, and pressure is how could we say, amount of magnetic fields in the environment, and we should look everything through eyes of magnetic and gravitational fields. So I think a scientist will have to redefine this equation and look differently into the physics. Whenever we look at atoms, we have to have in mind that there is plasma in the background which creates these atoms, and we have to respect rules of the plasma which has capability of magnetic and gravitational field. We will try to make a video about this to have better understanding. If you put different magnets on the table, you cannot have more than a certain amount in the certain place. So when you try to push them, maybe you can squeeze them, but after that they position themselves, and they're not allowed to go more together than their fields allow to them. So they position themselves. We all know that magnets they radiate fields. We should do this experiment with ring magnets, which are in a way plasma magnets. They contain plasma in the middle of the ring, and so they position themselves according to fields they radiate. So one interesting thing that happened last week was also this failure that we have in the stainless steel full sphere reactor. On Monday, when we came, motor was not rotating. Then we found out that shaft which connects motor to the shaft of the reactor was broken. The tube shaft was broken. When we changed, we start the motor again, and then reactor started rotating slowly, but then it stopped. So we found out that rotating valve is blocked, and have to repair. First, we try to repair rotating valve, and when we put a part and put some vacuum grease onto the seal, and after that valve was rotating again, but it was heating, so there is some friction in that valve, and we lose vacuum condition again, and we decided to completely change, to replace rotating valve with completely new valve. And when we removed the old rotating valve, we noticed that there is some white powder inside the valve, and also in the tube that connects the rotating valve further to the vacuum supply system and to gas systems. There is some whitish material inside the tube, and there is any reason why this white thing should be inside the reactor, because we vacuum several times. There should not be a reason why this white thing should be there, but it was there, and the only reasonable explanation was that magnetic gravitational fields in a certain position converted to matter in that level. So this is the second time that we observe this. We observed already in Iranian reactor on the window there were drops of material. Last week some pictures were posted on internet about this, and also now with this white material we have another example of this phenomena. So that's what we are doing. We are also we are filling our reactors and with different gases, and I think this is very important to do this this procedure of working with reactors, because you get confidence, you get experience with this. I remember when we started to work with these reactors, you have maybe 9 valves, 10 valves in front of you to control all the gases, all the vacuums, all the connections to the reactor. And when you first time see this, it's difficult to control, but after 1 month, when you are doing this, you're more comfortable, and we are doing now this more or less without thinking. We can do this with closed eyes, and we know what we are doing. And anyway, you have to be there. You have to think about if you do the mistake, you put wrong gas into the chamber, or if you open the valve of the vacuum to the chamber, you can do mistakes. So you have to be there. But it's much easier now than 2-3 months ago. It's like you're first time driving a car, you are very uncertain, but after a few thousand kilometers, after 20,000 kilometers, you are very comfortable in it. And that's the learning process that everybody should go through. And in a way, this learning goes also to the learning of the behavior towards the reactor in a way that we should pray for our reactor whenever we are feeding a reactor. And when you are repeating this each time when you are putting gases into the reactor, and after a few hundred times, after a few thousand times that you are doing this, it becomes part of you, and it becomes part of your behavior also in other situations. And from this point of view, I am considering that also this part, like praying for the reactor, is very important, and this learning process of how to pray and how to behave towards reactor, this is also important. So that's from my point of view. I will pass microphone to John. He will explain his point of view.
So, hello to everyone. As you have heard about the systems, you know that there are 2 new systems that will be put in action soon. And these systems are in fact small spheres that will be filled up with the GANS material. Will be different gas that can be inserted in those reactors. So can I ask you, Rick, to post the link I posted you this morning, or do you need it again?
Sorry, I had to get my microphone on there. I'll try to get into the link, but I'm having trouble because I think it might be overwhelmed right now. Maybe the link got out.
Otherwise, can you put me in the sharing?
Oh, wait a minute. I've got a picture here. So what would you like to show first there, John? I've got the picture of the double reactors. Is that something you'd like to talk about first, or which picture?
All the pictures are linked to what is done now. So we have the new reactors. These are put together. And the last video that is in the links there is a video showing the whole setup from today. And that video is because all the motors are shut down. And it's very calm here in the lab, and you see that there's 2 new reactors. They are, if you look at the video, you'll see that they are standing already in the room, in the lab, not connected yet, but they should be filled and connected. So that's one aspect. In the pictures that are posted, there is a small of a toothpick with some stuff on it. In fact, Marco told that when his reactor has been dismantled, we could see some dust inside the tubes that we took out. And that's what was collected from the... Arman is saying fairy dust. It's dust that was collected inside the systems. Normally, that should not happen to be there unless it has been produced by the transformation, the fact that the plasma, yes?
We have a question about that. I think it's actually from Mark. He says, could it not also be also caustic residue? Is that possible?
It's on the plastic tube that is connected to the yes.
We have only one pin.
Yes.
There is no
And the other question I would have about that, could it be the white silicone seal, the sealant material that might have leaked into the vacuum system and then just crystallized when its volatile oils are vacuumed off or whatever, something like that, or changed from the hydrogen or something like that? Is that possible?
Well, in fact, there has been some silicon going into parts of the rotating valve, but if we use silicone, that's because it has a very low, just about no vapor pressure. Otherwise, we would have problems at that level also. The stuff we collect is a grayish, and you see it on the picture with which shows a kind of toothpick, and it was in fact in an area that was not in contact with the silicone. So whatever it is, there's one thing also, that stainless steel reactor has only a pin which is underneath, inside, that has been nano-coated, and most probably it could not be caustic staying on the pin because it has been washed. Yes, well, it was inserted 2 months ago. It has been vacuumed several times, so whatever, it's not normal to see some kind of dust, some kind of powder like that, to be at that place. So that's what might be understood. That's the way we can see it for now, and what is that material, I cannot say at all what kind of material we see there.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and it ties back into what we were learning actually about over a year ago with Mr. Keshe telling us that different materials may form inside the tubes, inside the vacuum tubes, or inside the reactors, depending on the conditions, on the plasma conditions that are happening. So, not to be totally unexpected, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you have some views of different things. I've made a picture of each of the pins that are inserted in the new reactors because it's brass has been nano-coated. Armin has been on it for nano-coating. He's very happy.
I've got
of doing that.
I've got a picture up here that you show with the nano-coated. It sure doesn't look like brass. It's all blue kind of coating on it, which is obviously several layers of coatings to be able to get to that point. Is that correct? Do you see it on the live stream or link there? It would be I'm not sure which picture number it is. It's 0045. Or sorry, no, it's another one. I have to get back there again. It was 0035 rather. And it shows the blue coated, nano-coated rod. And what was this rod that you used, by the way? It was a brass rod, right? That's got some kind of threads at one end? Hello? I think I lost... I think we've lost the Spaceship Institute. Okay. Let's see if we can re-invite them back again. Okay, well, we're having a little technical difficulty issue here. So we'll have to wait and see if the connection comes back here.
James, can you hear me?
I think several people have been dropped off.
Yes, I can, Vince.
Okay, yeah, we're just waiting for the Spaceship Institute to come back, so
Okay.
we'll just hold on. Unless somebody else has anything spectacular you want to talk about?
Do you have the photos that you can put up on GoToMeeting?
No, I don't have them at the moment.
Okay.
Does anyone knows how? I heard on the last discussion that the Chinese were making the cups, the composite cups for treatment and stuff like that. Does anyone knows how they managed to remove the caustic out of the cups after nanocoating them?
I think you just wash them. But Rick, oh, who's there?
We are here back.
Good. Hi, Armin.
We have to relocate back to the
You know how to
teaching
set up
room.
this?
Just plug it in.
Yeah, but you have to also.
So we're going to connect through Armin's line. Is that the way it's going there now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Make sure you have a microphone and have it turned on besides.
Microphone is on.
Okay. Do a sound check then. Let's see how it is.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes. Yes, I can. Good, good, good. Okay, excellent.
Okay. We need that connection to hear that we can hear.
It's good, I think.
No, but we cannot hear the talk. Can you connect yourself there? Can you hear us?
Mr. Kesh, are you on a microphone? Because it sounds like it's coming
Yes, we're
from
on the
computers.
headphone. Yeah,
Okay,
now
it sounds like it's not on the headphones yet.
Now, is it on the headphone now?
It sounds the
Yes.
same.
Okay. Can you hear us?
It still sounds like it's on the computer, not the headphone.
It says to
Oh,
us.
that's better.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Oh, that's better.
No problem. We are here back again.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So you had us in the lab, and now we are back in the teaching room upstairs. And you see the noise is exactly the same. No motors. So
A bit of a hum in the background there I'm getting, and I'm wondering if there's a cable or something that might be crossing it with a household current cable or something like that. It's a bit of a hum.
not as far as any better.
A little bit better. It's just a background hum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll probably just have to make do with that, I guess.
Yeah, I can hear it. Is there anything else? Who was talking? I was away. Ah, okay. I'll give the thing back to John.
So, I was speaking about the pins that are in the new reactor. And they have been nano-coated multiple times. And that blue color is what happens to become the caustic. In the caustic, the brass that I was trying to find the name. So the pin have been inserted from the bottom, the side where the motor are connected. So we'll have to see in the following days how it will be finished, because I still have a few finishing touches to do, and inserting the GANS material, and also see for the place where they'll be put on, and normally they should be able to run on the ground, but well, that will have to be checked also, because the ground is not completely flat. So that's what I wanted to say about these new systems. All the rest of the reactors, like they behave as they are sitting now, we see there is still, we can see the fields are there. What is interesting is to see that sensors, we had lots of variation in the sensor, in the measurements of the fields, but now that the motor are stopped, that variation has decreased a lot. So we have more a mean value of the fields, and that's what is interesting to see, that we have still plasma because we have a common environment due to the plasma in all the reactors. The fields have increased from yesterday, seeing the values after the motor have been stopped, and the values we have today, those values are interesting and are increasing. And we still had some increase while we were with this workshop going on. So, do you have any question? Today is the 4th.
Yes, John, I have a question regarding how would you be introducing the GANs into the reactor? I mean, what kind of valve do you use for that? Because if you no longer need to maintain the, the vacuum condition in the reactor, then I'm wondering what kind of valves you'll be using on the reactor.
Okay, that's a simple way. It will be introduced in the liquid state, injected inside, and there is a cap on the top that can be unscrewed, and so the condition in the reactor will be water and GANs in suspension in the water. So it's relatively easy to introduce.
Okay.
We won't make any vacuum in the system, and we leave the material as a suspension in the water, and will be rotating, and that rotation will in fact produce, because of the centrifuge pressure, the heavy material will be on the sides of the inner sides of the reactor, and as we have been seeing that in the plastic sphere where Armin has been rotating the GANS material, we saw that the GANS nearly sticks on the sides and makes a kind of torus shape on the edge at the center of the sphere. And well, that's what will happen when the sphere are in rotation. And the material will, because it will be with the water and in rotation, will have to be rotated at a high speed. Speed should go up to 5,000 revolutions per minute. So it's very high speed, and therefore the system put together needed to be well centered. And I think I still have on the one some small adjustment to do, but anyway, they both rotate at high speed.
And will you be introducing how many?
How much material?
No, well, I mean different kind. What kind of GANs material would you be putting there?
Well, the decision is not complete yet, but we can use the different GANs material we have, and that will allow the creation of different magnetic and gravitational fields also produced by the different GANs material in the core.
And do you guys envision using dry GANs material as well in the future? Maybe is that a possibility?
No, it won't be dry. The material will be with water.
Thank you.
And is it safe to do it ourselves? What are the precautions that we should have?
Well, the caution is essentially not to touch the material with your hands, and find a way of working the GANs without eating it, or because Armin is showing not to eat, but no, essentially the material has to be managed carefully. But if you have a sphere in which you can be sure you won't have leakage or material going everywhere, the essential will be to follow what we will be doing, and we can stay further next time when we'll start rotating.
I have one more question. I'm not sure whether it's appropriate to ask it now, but could radio frequency be used as a means of activating the GANs material instead of rotation? So basically use radio frequency as the means of rotating, let's say, the GANs?
I didn't understood clearly. Radio frequency used. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Mean?
Yes, I mean if you can have an RF device which can generate specific RF frequency, and if you have somehow a nano-coated wire connected to the output of this radio frequency device, and which is connected also to the internal part of the reactor, could this frequency be used?
No, there might be some effect, but due to water, but I have no experience, so I cannot say what would be the use, if it's useful or not. But might be interesting to try and to see. So, do you have any more questions?
Thank you, John.
It's me back on again. Is there anything you want to ask? I'm going to clarify a couple of points. John spoke about switching the motors. We have tested this before. Motors have no effect, or the motor's operation has no effect on the reading of the detectors. So we know that for a long time because that's at matter level. The other thing is we even have moved across and between the cores deliberately to see if there is a change. Human movement does not affect the reading either. We don't see a drop or whatever. The other point which you raised about the dry GANs, this can be tried. There is a possibility if we can dry it enough that stays still in GAN's atomic or molecular structure, this works the same, but then is more in a matter state. The point which is interesting, and now we have a right condition for it to test it, is 2 of these new reactors which are getting built have a center pin, and 2 of them have a coating outside. So what we see with a spherical transparent core which Arman has made, and from what we have seen from the test before with the reactor which we had to break to have a look inside, the reactors which have a nano coating layers, we have to see how they respond. If we open them one day, we presume we should not see any nanomaterial on the coating. If it doesn't, then we should do. And this is part of the structure of the nano layers. And this is how it works. Just one second, just one second.
Yes, hello guys. I can continue, actually.
Hello, Ramon.
Sorry about that. It's a lot of things happening in the background to do with the foundation, so I just had to come on. So 2 of these reactors will tell us if the nanomaterial core, the GANs, which are actually made of the same material, same structure, will go and stick to it or not, which we'll have to see. In one of the cores which we broke, we see yes, but where there actually should be no material, there is a material, and where it should be material, there is no material. So we have to see, understand the behavior of these GANs in there. There is a problem which is now we're trying to sort out because of the Raman spectroscopy which we received from data from a nuclear center, is that even though we see copper oxide or we see CO2, due to the waters which we used initially in the salt, and the salt we used to produce these gas materials, these waters were normal tap water. We have here natural resources water. We don't use what you call the public line. And with the salts which used, some calcium has found itself into the process. So in some of the copper oxide has residual of calcium in it as a calcium GaNs. And so these calcium GaNs, when it's mixed with, which is now mixed with all the GaNs materials we produce because of the water and the environment we created it, tend to be the link with connecting the copper oxide or CO2 into the physical body of the reactor core. This is.
Mr. Keshe, isn't it also a connecting force inside our human biological reactors, in the sense that calcium is one of the major elements that are that is active for like nervous systems and other systems in the body?
Yes, but this is part of the medical teaching.
For creating life forms, for example, maybe it would be part of what the brain GaNs, for example, might make use of the calcium, would it not?
If you go back on the same structure what you're talking about, exact replica of our system is your brain with your skull. The liquid between between the skull and the brain, partially part of this liquid carries calcium, which becomes layers of your skull from inside. That's the oldest piece of your body is 9 years old. So even you think your skull is solid, it's continuously getting replenished with calcium from inside. It's just like somebody going and plastering the wall in a way. So in that liquid, there's continuous availability of calcium, and in how it's conditioned, it fits, and part of it always due to its condition and the spectrum of the fields in the brain gets absorbed into the brain. Is not deliberate; it's part of the process. So we have the same thing here, but as I explained, I do this in the teaching on the medical side. Your parotid glands decide the thickness of what material is going to be GaNs in what state where. So we have calcium and every other matter in our lymph. When it gets to the point of the delivery or need, it changes to the matter is needed. When you take the lymph, you don't see calcium, potassium, or whatever separate in it. It's a spectrum, it's a plasma, the same as what you've seen with the example, the yolk. And then when it comes to the point when it needs as calcium, through the instruction, through the thymus and the gravitational field of the environment where it reaches, it becomes the matter of that entity. But it has a reservation on how much it can be. So there is so much, that's why you see shortage of calcium or potassium or whatever in your blood. Because it's according to what is needed and what the thymus gland decides to convert through parotid glands. So the same situation now exists with us with these new reactors. We have CO, we have CO2, we have CuO, we have CuO2, we have calcium. Most probably we have some residual of other minerals in the structure. But the Raman spectroscopy of the CO2, for example, has shown traces of CO3Ca. So we know calcium is bonded through oxygen to the magnetic field of the CO2, and this is very good attachment between the wall and the matter. And this is something, if you are producing GaNs for the future reactors, to start with, you cannot eliminate minerals, but you can reduce the calcium. Calcium is a point of attachment in this condition of Earth gravitational magnetic field. So it's better to start from the beginning to reduce the amount of calcium. Is used distilled water, not the tap water. Even the bottled waters you buy have a certain amount of calcium in it. So this is something we are too far down the road to go back and correct it. And so you will see these attachments to the wall is very much exactly the same as your skin. You create an inner layer, middle layer, and the outer layer. The outer layer is the core. The middle layer will be this calcium CO2 or copper oxide, and the inner layer will be the gans of the material, which rotates and doesn't attach itself to the material. But we got to see what happens. In the future, we will produce, or we should be able to replace the water with gases or with plasma. If we can induce plasma in the layers or in the gans material, the separation will come to due to the presence of the plasma. You don't need the water, then you move out of the matter environment in the total plasma environment. So these are the things to come up. Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
On one of your introduction video, you did mention that on some of your letters to the United Nations, you did explain that men will come to accept your technology not because of the beauty of it, but simply because of trying to maintain or to save our own lives. Now, I have two questions with regards to this statement. First is, will you in the future make your letters to United Nations a public information? Second, does that statement have anything to do with what you explained to the knowledge seeker last week with regards to the merging of our solar system with its sister, or with another solar system? And
this is carry on.
And if you can just elaborate that to us a little bit more, so that we can understand exactly what is going on.
My letters to United Nations is part of the operation of the Keshe Foundation as a Stichting Keshe Foundation. We keep United Nations informed. They keep it or they bin it, it's their problem. But we know they keep it because we see some other operations around, which is response to the letters we send. They are the future owners or appointed directors, not the owners, but the appointed directors of the Keshe Foundation. And so they have to be informed. It's not done to influence, it's just to inform. The interaction with the United Nations and the religious leaders is more to inform than to collaborate. If they want to collaborate on what comes up on the 14th is a different matter. But overall, it's just informing. And within the structure of the Keshe Foundation, we have some influential people who are very internationally influential with the knowledge, which advise us in certain respects and aspects of our work. And part of this is fed back to United Nations. The acceptance of the technology by nations is due to what it's going to do. As I said to one of my volunteers very recently, no science ever has been put at the reach of the man so rapidly and so immensely in an open way. I hear in the past few weeks that we have found another guy who started working the same as Keshe Foundation, and I welcome his work. Is apparently is the owner of the Tesla cars. He has opened his patent the same way. So people who work at this level of understanding what changes mean and what is to come, none of us and a lot of people, you'll find a lot of scientists will go through the same process of opening patents. Highly scientific patents will be opened up for public to do it if they can do it. Doesn't mean that you can do it just because you read the patent, but we try to do it that you understand how to do it. We could have finished with the whole process, we released the patent, we don't need to do anything. But now we intensely go into the depth of the teaching in explaining what it is And Armin yesterday said, you know, we just explain everything as it should be and as it looks, not as it has been made. Today we spoke for nearly 2 hours, but if you just go over a glance of what has been said, a lot of scientists will understand the application and implication of this workshop today, maybe in 100 years. This is the first time we have managed to create sustainable plasma on its own without spending 30 billion. We control its speed of rotation without spending a lot of tokamak and a lot of other magnetic fields. We hold 8 plasmas. It's not coincidental, it's not one. We have gone into the stage of opening scientifically one of the oldest formulas in the physics regarding the pressure and temperature. These are all huge steps. One of the biggest problem is that we release so much information from the foundation that 99% of it is not even understood. It's just listened to. And in time, when these recordings are played back and when the scripts as people are writing are written, read, then they say, oh, he said, or they said, or they did that time, you know, so many 100 years ago, we never understood it. You have to realize that we have a special word. We were laughing at it with Armin yesterday in the lab. You know the mites which is in your hair? We have a special word for it, and the Armenian have a word for it. Because I come from a background, know a lot of Armenian, we could understand what it means. This mite is like the earth in the whole structure of the universe, if the universe is the size of your head, even smaller. So what happens to human race in the coming time is literally not much important. This is a natural process. The reality is that the total structure of the soul which this planet has created, that's the essence which will stay and will be added to the universal soul. This is where your soul goes after completion, after whatever happens. So as you have a spot in your brain which is its function is to just transfer information and be part of the brain for your arm to move, the soul of the created will be the same. Your physicality is irrelevant, but the soul which you add to the universal soul, that's where the main factor comes. In fact, the planets like Earth are incubators for production of the souls, which when you put the 4th, the 6th and the 8th steps together, then you understand the bigger structure. The body of the man is just the incubator, the same as the mother is the incubator, the womb of the mother for the child, birth of a child. The body of the man is incubator for production of or creation of the soul, and the souls in their turn join a bigger structure. Then you become part of, and then you have what we call the spirit connection between the soul and the body to another level. So there is no fear what's going to happen, everything which has been created, it's lost. No. The essence, the plant gets watered, stays in the ground for a year to give a flower, for the honey to pick up that few bits to keep the essence of the plant and transfer it somewhere else. And that's the purpose of creation of planets and the creation of the soul. So those who have the fear that it's going to be the end happens every day. Since we start talking, several hundred thousands of planets have, or stars have gone through the same process that's about to happen on Earth. This is irrelevant. When you die in a car crash, your soul doesn't disappear. This is the same process, but in a larger magnitude. And those souls collectively is become the soul of what is of the solar system. And then it adds up to the universal soul, which has got a different addition. The prophet of the past speaks about different levels. Now we open what those different levels are as man gets ready. So just because the mother died after the birth of the child doesn't mean that the child doesn't have a soul and the soul of mother doesn't exist anymore. This is a physicality.
Mr. Keshe, there was a question from the live stream regarding where is the question? Yeah, does Mr. Keshe know the name of the central star in our sister solar system?
Sorry, we don't give birth certificate for the stars on the name.
Okay.
You can put, I haven't seen any star rotating around with a flag and number plate on it. So unless you want, I'll give you one.
It's going to sideswipe us by surprise, I guess, eh?
The point is that
it's going to be it's going to be a hit and run. Let's put it that way.
No, it'll be hit and merge.
Okay.
No, but this is part of the process. There is no difference. There is no difference. I was read something this week. I don't know if I quoted the correct way. His Eminence the Pope, in his Sunday Mass, or one of his Sunday Mass, and recently says, the nearness to Christ is dangerous. What does it say exactly?
Whoever has the connection to Christ only has to be through
Vatican.
Through Vatican. Other connection to Christ is
Let hold on.
I will try to explain how I understood this. I saw this post on internet and understood that Pope said that connection to the Christ could be possible only through the Catholic religion, through the priests. Direct connection to the Christ is not possible and is a sin or something like this. Dangerous, yes. Okay.
So we see now the limitation how you can and who can get close to God. Now you understand. So we leave it to those who decide to control the traffic light, who can go and who cannot. The essence is that the man is too physical and he has chosen his own ways to control through physicality. And when your thoughts a certain way of thinking, then it's very hard for people to change their mind, to change their understanding, because they accepted it, now they have to accept a new thing. This is how we use or abuse, or we try to prove ourselves to be correct. We are looking into how psychological acceptance comes into man, and how this can be changed in man to be free from what we call fear of the sin or what might happen. We see this in people who use the crack, the people who smoke crack. They change from hallucination with like cocaine or heroin to physical presence. This is one of the biggest problems with this medicine, with this drug. So what happened when you take drugs? It's internal imagination, but with the people who take crack, who bridges the emotion to physicality, which these people physically see things. This is the bridge between two parts of the brain, which other drugs don't do. So we have the same problem of how much we see, so we've been made to believe, to see, to be correct, and how much has been imagination which has been brought to us, and we have to accept it. This is part of the same problem with all the ways of belief. When people come too close to start understanding, they are put on a separate path that they put the fear into them. And as I said in my other talks, we don't claim to be the Christ, we don't claim to be the return of Christ or Muhammad. Universal messengers have different objects and different objectives. These are for your humans, how you perceive the next, person to be to guide. Our problem is not guiding, our problem is survival. in extracting what we can, that there is some remnants of this. This is what very much like the humans have done. You extract all the seeds and you're holding them in a mine somewhere in the North Pole in one of the countries, that in case if something happens, we have a copy of all the seeds. Each entity, each being in every part of the universe is a leaf on a beautiful picture of the painting. So we keep everything, and the mixture at the end will result into what it's supposed to be. So those who think, and I've seen things on with the question you're asking about what I say if it's something to come, those who believe in the return of Christ, he will return the way they see it. Our job is not that. We don't interfere with that kind of job. It's their problem. We see above it and much, much further down the road what exactly is going to happen. If we don't save man from this planet, there shall be no Christ. There will be no Christians or Jews or Muslims to carry the name of God the way they believe in it. So the ones who obstruct, to block, in fact are the ones who stop the development of the whole thing and transfer of their belief in somewhere else. If I was Pope or any other religious leaders or any leaders in people following the thought, I support the foundation. The ones who block us are the ones who are going to put an end in their faith, because if we cannot save man out of this planet, in the universe there are no mosques, there are no Christ, there are no Muhammad. The planet is gone, it's finished. This is the short-sightedness of their own belief. So we understand why these talks and these kind of actions getting more and more as the foundation is opening up, and this is not just a few people. The letter in my name has been read by most of the top world religious leaders and their followers around the world. So blocking us, you end up with the name of Christ, because when this planet is gone, there is no Christianity left. So the cooperation, collaboration by the Vatican, other religious leaders, is for saving your own beliefs, not accepting a new belief. This is where the change is coming. So the ones who say, if you're Messiah, why don't you breastfeed the whole world? This is not our job. Our job is to preserve the name of Christ and the rest in the correct way. When the end comes, there is no body, there is no faith. So my advice to those who sit and watch and disturb a lot of things is very simple. You are very open-minded, you are very correct, and you are here to save the name of Christ. When the end of this planet comes, there is no churches in the universe unless you carry his name. So in so many ways, world religious leaders gather us and support the foundation in a much deeper way if they are really true to their own work. This is where a lot of people have to understand where the difference is between what we call it the Messiah and what you call the return of Christ, or Mahdi as they call it in Islamic and in other names. That is the process of human being, and those are messengers of human being. We do not touch, it's got nothing to do with us. We are aware of it. Part of the work of the man and guiding of the man through us to them has been done, but that's as far as it goes. So if we are accused of or we've been told by people who don't understand, it's very simple. If you do not collaborate, if as a human race, as a total, as a one religion, one government don't collaborate, you have no government, you have no religion to take, unless you want to keep it to yourself. It's like a man who's got a mistress and keeps it in a box. Nobody knows, but everybody knows there is a mistress in that house and is supported. So my message to Vatican and those people who make threats and make people fear is to do the reverse. Open up to join, to take Christ into space, not to finish it here. In time you'll come across the same kind of belief in this space with different names for Christianity or Muhammad as Muslims and the rest. This is very, very fundamental. My call goes to His Holy See. Block Keshe Foundation, you end up the name of Christ in the universe. Support us, we take you with us into it. Because when this end comes, There are no Christians because there is no planet. There is a reason we are in Italy, and it's been predestined. It's not just by accident. Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, if I may, in the letter of In My Name, on paragraph 19, it reads, you as children of Adam have suffered enough in the hands of your own wrongdoings and others, and now you receive the love of your Creator to guide you and protect you in this short path of adjustment and reunion with the rest of the creation in the world of creation. And my question is, who are the others? We have suffered in the wrongs. I mean, we have suffered in the hands of our own, meaning our leaders and our own government.
No. Your own is your own yourself, your misconduct, and others are the governments and the people around you.
Thank you.
Next question.
I have a question, Mr. Keshe. I was away last week at a friend's place, and there was a lot of UFOs flying over, and I went through a process, and I have a certain awareness and sensibilities now, and two of them came in, two of these beings, and I was wondering if you could explain to me. One of them was introduced themselves to me, and the sensation, the energy signature from it is felt on the crown of my head, and then another one came, and it's felt on my neck. Why are the different places for these types of different beings?
I never make comments about these things.
Okay.
It's been our policy. We never make comments. If it's a scientific pictures or data, we explain. But the reason for it is if you go this way, then we become one of these UFO groups and other groups which are talking about aliens and the rest.
Right.
If it's something scientific, I'll explain. I've seen the picture.
I have some.
The picture.
Yeah, but I have some videos of what I've just talked about that I haven't shown anybody. I'll send them to Armin to give to you.
There's no problem. If something is there that we can see, we can scientifically explain. We explain.
You can see it physically.
No problem. No problem.
All right.
But a lot of things can be explained. A lot of things have a meaning. And as I said to you before, not to you, but in the talks, as man has become Romans, going from one point to another soon in the universe, and not having a home, there are those who've been through the same situation, are going through the same situation. So if you think as a planet which has got a solid surface and can support certain kind of atmosphere for certain living, we are the only ones here. We are the natives, and the rest are foreigners. You've got a long mistake coming. Long mistake. In the universal level, your home is never your home. This is very much makes me laugh, and it's been one of the point of puzzles for me. Let's say you're British or you're Belgium, and I've seen it, I've tasted it, I lived the hatred with the foreigners. Racism. In the village of Tiham where we live, we don't get served because I'm the only foreigner. And I'm one of the most educated people in that village. And it's strange enough, these people buy a ticket and go to Spain. And they become a foreigner. And they expect to be treated good. Just because they're human. This is the hypocrisy with man. So, you don't see interactions from what you call aliens. It's because they know the nature of a man is horrendously wrong. The same guy who calls me a foreigner in a corner shop in Tiham, in Anzam, in Belgium, takes a flight and he goes to Spain and Morocco, and he comes back about what he's seen. He doesn't say he's a foreigner in that land. This is the problem. This is what self-centered is, and this is what's got to finish. You play this game in the space, you're vanished, you're finished. I was explaining yesterday to knowledge seekers, or the day before, why what you call the know-how, the boat of know-how, why we take so many people. Because a large number of people will be lost through different processes. Yesterday, or the day before, Arman, just because he's Arman, he started loading the reactors in such a way that he literally put, as we said, water on the fire. The whole process of the reactors came to a halt. We became going nowhere. And I explained to him, you do this in a space, you go in a role, you don't know where you're going to end up. And let's say for a position man, I can understand how many people will be thrown around in this role. When you make a wrong decision and you as a pilot, your aircraft goes into the roll down, what's going to happen to the passengers? Some have a seatbelt, will survive, and the other ones will not. Okay. So we take a lot of people just to increase the possibilities of randomness of life. United Nations Americans, or actually NASA has done a very deep study in what is the optimum number or minimum number that we can take in any excursion, long-term excursion, that we have a very good pool of genes, that we don't become all one shape and one color. I think the number is somewhere around 200, 244, 250, something in that region. So for the gene pool of man, you need huge numbers plus the ones you lose. This is very a strange position. The rabbis all to be on the same aircraft. If they don't accept unity, why they are there for? And then can you imagine the Christians trying to convert the Muslims in the same craft to become Muslims? What the mullah is going to do? You think he's going to sit there and watch it?
It sounds like a joke, actually. There's several jokes of certain religious leaders on an airplane. So.
No. This is the truth. This is the reality.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen? You think the mullah is going to sit and lose all his flock? But at the same time, what we say for the unification of the religions is that you need one to teach all to be correct and equal. This is the same problem which we have now. We see a new start of the process here. Let me explain how far the knowledge seekers, I don't know if they explain it to you or not, are seeing the true essence of conversion and relation and interaction here. When about 2 days ago, the spherical, metal-spherical core was broken down, Marco changed the pipe because they came to change to seal a valve, and then when they went to start it, it got twisted, so we had to change the pipe. We had a red pipe, we put a blue pipe. Very short time later, the problem was still there because of whatever was happening. So there was a leakage because now the top of the rotating valve got stuck. So then we had, that was why the twist came that we had to change. Then we came to the conclusion, okay, we're going to change the whole valve. In changing the pipe, there is nothing but gas in these cores, and these pipes have been changed several times in different parts because of the failure. We adjusted, we put different things. Marco noticed that there is a white dust in the tube, and the tube was there just what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe no more. No more than, let's say, half an hour to an hour. But because they did the vacuum and they did the extraction, part of the plasma was literally pulled into the pipe. And because of the process was converted into matter. So we see it as matter. So now here we have a start seeing conversion of plasma to matter. Is this matter going to be gold? If the condition in the pipe was created to be nano layers, would it be plutonium? Would it be hydrogen? Or would this plasma lead to a life? If the right condition is within the plasma, then it will happen. Then, Marco, we decided to change the valve. We changed the valve and that was it. But I left the valve on the table and said to Marco, can you order the same one that we can have? And yesterday, suddenly Marco picked the valve which was left there to order, and we saw huge, quite a substantial amount of matter inside the valve, the piping of the valve. So we've been converting plasma into matter in our system. We have scraped it, John has taken the pictures of it, and we shall see what the process will be in the future, what material we have produced. So now you have created a condition, you created a being, and you're in the space. What religion would you like this new being to have? Muslim, Christians, or whatever. This is what is the biggest problem. This is what is, this is why we ask for unification and all the religions to speak to each other. So in so many ways, we are waiting to teach you the, what do you call it, the reality of what it is. So in so many ways, in trying to unify the religions before we go, like we're trying to unify the sciences, is to avoid the problems of the future in the aircraft, in your crafts and in the space. I wonder if you can teach a man who knows everything about the universe to become a Christian or a Muslim when you see them in the space. Unless you can teach them unification to be a part of the same and equal, then you have a room to survive, because otherwise you become a laughing stock. So the whole purpose, as we said, all these papers and everything else, is to bring everything together in a normal manner. We are aware of what the Belgian authorities and the police has planned to do with me. We've been opened up the books by securities. We are aware of what they are doing. We are aware of... None of these will touch us. Don't forget, we know what it is, and we have access to the punishment beyond the man's imagination if we have to punish. But the time of punishment is over. It's the time to explain. Today we have put 2 reactors on a roller that they can be free to rotate, and in the future, as I explained, they're going to be in a 3-dimensional to rotate. And each sphere becomes an entity itself. God forbids if I put a man in one of these spheres and a transparent. He's still alive, solitary prison. It'll be nothing to compare to what you have to go through. This is not to put fear, but this is to explain the power of the knowledge. There is very simple things. A man is nothing but a dust, a speck of dust, let alone this planet which is smaller. And a man is smaller than that. But if it has to be done, we'll show the power. I have no hesitation. Don't forget, Very simple thing, that's through the Prophet of God. It's in Quran, it's in the writing of his blessed name Muhammad. For what the Jews did to Christ, they took the love of God from the tribe of Abraham, Moses. Then imagine with our power what we can do. And we saw what happened. There was not even a state that the Israelis could call it their own state, and they had to wait 1,000 years to get the state back to call Israel. A man, a king or whatever, who tries to stop the process is no problem for us to even literally finish with the name of the nation which is king of. Not by threat, but by people being ashamed to be called that nationality when they know the truth about their own operation of their leaders. If this is very hard for you, I explain it in a simple way because it comes home. When the Iranian Revolution started and all the things which they did wrong in Tehran, those people who were not even Iranians but they didn't name of Iranians, a lot of Iranians in foreign lands, they changed the name. We are not Iranians, we are Persians, because we respected the old name. We did not want to be attached to the animosity and the, the wrongdoings of the others. And then they made the acts of evil. Nobody wanted the torture the Iranian children went in the schools because they were Iranians is horrendous. So now, the same will happen to a nation. People would not like to be called and to be the citizen of that nation from the wrongdoings of what that name of that nation has done. We don't need to raise it. People do it themselves when they see the fact and the truth. It's the same with the religions. A priest, a man of holy man, should advise every man to be close to Christ to find his teachings correct and live his life, not closest to him to be danger or something wrong with it, unless there is a means of control. A man of God teaches his followers to become as close as possible to the man, to the teaching of the man. Because then they adjust it and they judge it according to their understanding without somebody explaining for them. These things would have stood maybe 50, 100 years ago where people could not, there was more illiterate than literate. Now most of the people are literate and they are computer literate. This is the past still hanging on to the last kicking of the life of the dead body. My advice is, to whatever religion you have, go closer than you can to your Prophet, to understand the true talks of him, but not the way it's been interpreted to suit anybody else. Then you find the true path, and then you join to become all one, because you understand the truth of it. We are not here to create disturbance, we are here to create balance for a space. Because you got to carry the belief in your heart and in your soul. Then you don't need no temple. Then you can pray still through Christ or Muhammad, because that's the path you accepted. There are no new religions, it's just bringing all the religions to one point. And I explain again, those who are interested to give life and continuation to the belief of any religion they believe in, they support the foundation to at least to be able to take it out of this planet when it's destroyed and it's gone. That's the only way. We won't see aircrafts full of Muslims, we won't see aircraft full of Jews or Christians. They all go as one. When there is a time of disaster, when the boat, when the boat capsizes with 1,000 people, nobody asks what religion you are, which boat you're going to get into. You get into religion, you give a hand to a Muslim, you couldn't understand because that's his savior, that's a hand of peace. This is the same situation. Very much the same situation, but you don't see the boat going down. It happened in Korea, we saw we lost 200 odd children as students because of the greed and selfishness of one man, the captain. And this will repeat now that the ship is the Earth, the ship is the solar systems, which is a normal process. So you don't look if the guy is black, white, yellow, Muslim, Christian, Jews, Buddhist or whatever. Religions don't count. unification to be able to save as many life counts, and that's what our purpose is. Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, in the past you've mentioned that there were other people or other beings from other systems who had lost their home as well, and they made it here into this planet, and they've been living here with us for some time. And I was just wondering if you could share something with us. And in addition to that, it has been clear, or it is well known, that our seas have got countless of lives, even lives like our own. I mean, there are men living in the sea, but they don't have the legs, but they have a tail of a fish. This is scientifically proven, and we know they do exist, even though government don't want to say the truth about it. Can you also tell us something about these people, or actually with our similar DNA just like ours, but living in the sea as well? Is there something you can share with us, or you can teach us about?
I think the best explanation of it is when you look at the upper atmosphere and the videos which are reduced by NASA. I talked and I explained this a couple of years ago on the forum. As you noticed, before I forget, I do not participate much on the forum because there are governmental hackers that every time I go on the forum, they hack the forum when it comes down. They come through my computer. So me not being seen on the forum is just that I'm trying to protect the system. It's a great effort done by IMEC and Belgian government, and they receive support through some groups here in Italy to do so. And there are some other people who do their own individual jobs. We are monitoring them. So if you go back on the videos of NASA, which is taken from space, you see part of this structure of other lives. But you come habitually, because you don't understand it, you ignore it. The existence in the water, in the space, between the galaxies and between the solar systems and within planetary system is very normal. You have a tail, you don't have a tail, whatever. It's what you made the arrangement to guarantee the survival of DNA. So if you understand that much, then you will see that the life is not exclusivity. People say, is there a life on Mars, on Moon? Yes, there is. Because the structure in that environment allows a specific type of life to exist. And is adapted accordingly. We adopt on this planet because of the environment, the height, the position, the warmth, the cold. We adopt. So the same thing happens in the universe. And there are others with us as much as we will be others with others. It just look, if we come from Africa, how come we change some black, some blue, some short, some tall, some blonde hair? It's just that the environment of Northern Europe forces this kind of whiter skin to absorb and be able to live in the environment. And the food is the same with the digestion system. So there's no difference between the planets and the other things. There are lives in this planet which we don't even see. They sit next to us and on the same table with us. We don't still see them because we don't have the tools of detection in our package of the body. Even though part of our brain has that package. Your brain, because of through its complicated system, is aware of the presence of everything which is around it. So even though because of your physically, the people say ordinary man uses 5% or 10% of brain. Einstein used a little more. Every drop, every cell of your brain is continuously used for what its purpose is to be and interact with what is needed and what it needs to detect to guarantee your survival. You're aware of what is physicality or what you can see or smell, but there are more beyond that which your brain operates without you knowing. It's very much just the other ones the other people said last time on out of the talks, that junk DNA. Junk DNA is a junk scientist who doesn't understand it. If there was no need for a cell in the brain, it wouldn't have been there, it would have been rotted and it would have never been there again. Why does a brain reproduce the same cell again and again in the same position? This is a short-sightedness of the man who doesn't understand the creation. So there are things that are entities, and decision-making entities doesn't need to have a leg and a foot. This is what it does. I said this morning, Arman is not going to sit and touch the reactor. He sits and controls, tries to understand the motive and the direction he wants the reactor to go through. Physicality is a pitfall of the man. Next question.
Takeshi, is there any way that the papers that were available on the site that would become available again, so we can download them?
What happened? There are a lot of things which we have to sort out. I explained this. We have curtailed the whole website. The website is on a heavy attack in the past couple of weeks. There is a possibility that we have to move the servers altogether and everything else because of these heavy attacks and where it sits and the way it's done. A lot of people tell me, why don't you go to HTML and finish with all these things? These people, doesn't matter what you do, they go to every asset and they do everything else. It's not our responsibility too, but we try to safeguard. So we took a lot of things off for the time being. It's kept in the main server in the background in the programs. I was told by our webmaster there's something like 30,000 pages on the website. You just see a few of it. All the papers will be released. There is a possibility that very soon the Foundation will announce a lot of huge changes. If we achieve what we are planning to and we go through what we expect to be, we release all the books freely to the worldwide, the same as we did with the key. People donate as they like to the Foundation for the book. All the papers will be done the same. In the coming weeks, if we achieve what we are negotiating to achieve, we will release all the medical files for all the world doctors to be able to access to help their patients and the people, sick people. These are what is in the pipeline. So in a sweep, and the thing is, this is not something strange. The medical pattern is a part of the key. You already have it, but people don't understand how to use it. It's the same as we did with the energy and the lift in the main patent. We are teaching it. Now we are getting to the point that I get a lot of communications from medical doctors and people in the health that why don't you teach the health? There is a point that we will going to release literally all data. All data on the medical soon, very, very soon will be released totally, worldwide, the same as we've done. It's all been loaded. It's a matter of the same as the key to release it. And or we tell you how to interpret the information on the patterns. So every single one of you, the way you are making the reactors, you can make their own system to save. You have the pattern, but you don't understand it. So we explain the way and the process it is. A lot of things are going to be done, but one of the things which you must have missed is that these people who call themselves so to be try to keep the Foundation so busy, as you've seen with different criminal activities and police wars and everything else, that we do not spend our time in teaching and concentrating to do the job. And now we are back on track. We don't care what happens. There is the situation, whatever it is. That there is not enough time. We teach everything at the same time totally, but the concentration on teaching the medical will happen very, very rapidly. And it's on the pipeline. I'm just working on it too. When I'm happy it's done, I already spoken to Eli about part of it. Because I can teach one or two, but there are thousands of people who need help, millions of people who need different kind of help application. There is one thing for sure. FMS, ALS, Alzheimer's, most of all of the cancers, the schizophrenic, if you call it schizophrenic, if you understood it, what it is, epilepsy, all the blockage in the blood and in the human body system, we have tested and the system works and it's 100% correct. So how many people, 40 odd million people in one nation suffer from fibromyalgia only? I can see 1 or 2 or 10 of them. When we release the process and explain that they can make their own systems, before we'll have 47 million. The same is with the cancer. How many people around the world dying of cancer? When we teach, you practice, when you go to space, you can help yourself. It's no use when you get cancer in space then trying to find out, understand what the pattern said and how it was supposed to be done. The process has started. We have enough to be able, and we received enough support to be able to go to the next phase of disturbance, what you call dispersing the knowledge on the medical side. But if you want my expertise, if you want me to help, or if you want your brother as a doctor to help you, you choose. Actually, you can go to the mechanic down the road, he can make the system better than your brother does as a doctor. Because he understands the system, because he understands how to make it. The game is out of the hand of the pharmaceutical, it finishes in the patent. So don't worry about a few papers, you're going to get the whole whack of it. If you thought you just received the key, now you're going to get the knowledge with the key plus all the books freely available. If you want it in a hard copy from the foundation, you go and buy it. But we leave it the same. You can download it with your own donation.
I'm thinking that we should start wrapping things up here, and wondering if there's any other announcements you'd like to make, Mr. Keshe,
No.
particularly about the Monday coming up. Will be the 14th. That's when the meeting of the religious leaders or leaders of the world.
What happens, we will hold the meeting, we've done this before, we will hold the meeting, we will never announce, this is part of our policy, we've done the same before. And then we go into the 29th meeting, which is now pre-agreed for that day. You have to realize if there wasn't progress, the second meeting would have never been arranged even before the first one to be held. So there is a progress, there is a pattern of work, and so we keep it that way. It's the job of the world religious leaders to respond to it. We don't go back and say we heard nothing from Vatican, we don't go back and say we heard nothing from Tehran. We put all the list of the emails on the internet. Is for you to contact them the way you did with the world leaders and with the Belgian police. Is for you to encourage them, and if they tell you they attend or not, it's their jobs. So the meeting is already...
So that's something that people can do then, for example, is to email or contact various leaders and let them know that this is happening and that they should participate.
And who are they sending? And ask them who are they sending, because then they tell you. Because this is a very, very technical position. We knew it when we set it up, but it's needed to be done. To get a religious leader and two opposite religious leaders, and somebody's going to steal my flock on the same table, it'll be very difficult. But as I said, we have the technology to enforce it. Even if it means we have to do things which to human will be a magic job, we don't do the magic job. We do it through the knowledge of the science of the technology. Then they understand the way it works. And the beauty of it is that we have the knowledge seekers to show you it's not just what I say. So if we can, let me explain this to a lot of people who don't understand. If we can sit Armen in front of the 8 reactors and or 1 reactor which they've done before, and they can change with their intentions the operation of the reactor. The power and the knowledge I have, I can brainwash any world religious leader to be here on their hands and knees. But that's not our purpose. They have to walk in through their own will, that they follow, the followers follow them through the same will. It's very, very simple. We will video this time when the knowledge seeker sits in front of the reactor and you see the power of interaction of the field of the man with a machine, now with the plasma. Then just imagine, I have enough knowledge and power within me to change the whole 7 billion to be obedient, but that's not the job. Doesn't serve the purpose. We can reach instantaneously, not hopefully through teaching to start mosques and synagogues and churches, that in 100 years some will convert. As I said, my wish is my command. If I wish 7 billion, it'll be done instantaneously. If it's too far-fetched and the thing is too arrogant, I sit within the body which goes back through the same DNA to the mother, the first mother. You're all within our reach. That's why we come in the body of the creation, created things. This is very simple answer to those who say nearness to something is too dangerous. We are near, we are within, and we work operate within the structure. Every man on this planet, before he becomes a religious leader, is a human being, and every human being, according to United Nations, come from the same mother, same tribe. Even we share the same DNA with the pig and the horse and the rest. So for me to reach is instantaneous if I wish so. How would you like to crawl on your back or on your hands or knees? But that will not serve the purpose. No man will reach. No one will learn anything. So thank you very much for today. And I hope
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
we'll have it for you next time. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you everyone else there at the Spaceship Institute. And of course, thanks to our listeners on live stream and GoToMeeting and Skype. Great call. Okay, that's it for now. Trying to shut off here. Still on.